Parents are healing autism. Check it out.
Also, there's a possible treatment for autism that some say is curing children.
Baxter Burley looks and acts like a normal 6-year-old because he is. That's why it's hard to imagine that at age 3, he had full-blown autism.
The same regional center that gave him the diagnosis, the same group of people, reversed his diagnosis.
Something else that reversed, the amount of mercury in his system. It went from a high level of 13 to what's considered almost negligible, 0.5. No longer considered autistic.
No longer considered autistic. That was a big day. We actually call it, the day he lost his diagnosis, we call his second birthday.
We see children that come through that are severely autistic and, within a year they're mainstreamed in school and out of the spectrum. Some children turn around in a number of months, other children take years.
We started with the special diet. We started with lots of supplementation geared at healing his body, helping his body detox from the heavy metal exposure he had. We did chelation, Methyl B12 injections. We rented a hyperbaric oxygen chamber for our house.
The self-stimulatory behaviors that we saw so much of are all gone.
We went from the baby who had no language and no social interaction and was lost in his own world to a child who is very verbal and very social.
He'll say, when I had autism, and then talk about something that we weren't aware of how he was feeling.
Imagine what could have been done to recover these children starting clear back in 1999 when the CDC first realized what was causing autism. Over 12 years later, they continue to tell the same old story. CDC is not certain how well. There is no simple explanation for the inductive changes from the definition of autism, or it improved recognition and increased recognition. And even though doctors are recovering the kids, the CDC continues to waste even more critical time by turning a blind eye to it. How much longer will we allow those who have caused this epidemic to be in charge? Let's be in charge of solving this puzzle. Let's put the pieces together. All right, guys. Sorry, they kind of cut the audio off at the end. Okay, so let's check this out. Did you catch that? She said through special diet, supplementation, healing, and detox from heavy metal exposure. So, for example, Zeolite and parasitic cleanse are something for detoxing from heavy metal exposure. Again, the heavy metal exposure is from the vaccines, the mercury, the aluminum. Folate B9, if you have heard of leucovorin, this is something that is being used already to treat a lot of children that have symptoms of autism. Essentially, what the leucovorin is treating is that the brain's receptors to folate, right, folate B9, they do not accept the B9. You can have it in your system, but it won't take it into the brain. I believe it's the prefrontal cortex. And so the leucovorin will allow this folate to then bypass those receptors, and you start to absorb it and you start to get the effects of it. And that has minimized a lot of, I believe, the behavior changes that the children were having due to this deficiency of folate. There is a test that can be done called the FRAT, F-R-A-T. You can go to fratnow.com. Your doctor must order it for you and they'll ship it to your home, and that'll tell you if there is a folate deficiency. I've been researching different doctors in different places, and some will go ahead and start the leucovorin, which is again a high dose of folate B9. Since the test takes a long time to get the results, I believe 5 to 6 weeks or so. So that's folate B9. You can get that Amazon, Zeolite, Amazon, parasitic cleanses, Liposomal glutathione, same thing. You can get them on Amazon. And specifically, what glutathione is, if you think back to the Tylenol causes autism announcement, what ends up happening is when you take Tylenol, it depletes your body of glutathione. And glutathione, let me just go right here to show you, is the most abundant non-protein thiol in cells and has an array of critical functions which include detoxifying drugs, protecting macromolecules from oxidative damage, and maintaining immune function. So essentially, glutathione is our body's way of detoxing from those chemicals and whatever was in the vaccines and Tylenol. So with that depleted, we can't clean our bodies or brains. So we can always get that for supplementation. Liposomal glutathione is more readily absorbed than just regular glutathione. She said chelation therapy. These agents bind to metals like lead, mercury, and arsenic, forming a stable compound that the body can then excrete, typically through urine. So again, this is for the heavy metals. Methyl B12 injections. Currently, we've been doing B12 orally, but she did say methyl B12 injections. And then hyperbaric oxygen chambers. Essentially, with the hyperbaric, what that is, it's a metal tube or a plastic tube or kind of a container. What ends up happening is you go inside to this hyperbaric chamber, and it begins to pressurize, like if you were in the cabin of an airplane, and you can go up to maybe 2 atmospheres, 1.5, depending on the HBOT you're using. And then you would breathe in 100% oxygen or something close to it via a nasal cannula or a face mask. Again, depending on the chamber, some you don't need a mask, but what happens is you are now breathing in 100% oxygen, and generally your plasma, it does get oxygen, but in small amounts, will now get a larger amount of oxygen. And with oxygen, you start to get healing across the body, detoxing across the body. And specifically the brain is what we're targeting. If you haven't seen my video on autism and the brain, if it's a brain injury, please check that video out. It'll explain this a lot better. But essentially what will happen is with this new influx of oxygen to the brain, you are now going to get healing if there's any dead tissue that was damaged due to the vaccine injuries. You will then also get a detoxification. When it comes down to those heavy metals, the oxygen is going to kind of get in there to clean it, and not just clean from toxins, but also the tissues, any dead tissue. It'll clean that out. So essentially getting all that out. And being that this is something that we are targeting to do with children so that they can be relieved of this diagnosis, that's when I think it'll be the best time for them, because their brain is already growing. It's growing at a faster rate. So in my opinion, hyperbaric oxygen chambers are a game changer. So those are the things that she mentioned in her steps of what she did to treat autism. All right, guys. So just to start off, I am a Christian, and everywhere that I looked, I met roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and I wanted to just come and just to give hope. I want you to be hopeful on this potential to have what a diagnosis reversed. As you saw in the video, the children were diagnosed with autism, and after they went through these treatments, they were able to reverse the diagnosis. So with that, stay hopeful. If you have any questions, if there's something that I missed or maybe it was not clear, please leave me a comment below. Feel free to, for example, YouTube or Instagram. You can follow me on either platform. And yeah, send me a message. But love you guys. Stay blessed.